Hey there, it's me again, Anthony Manganello with Lesson 6 of your Debt-Free Academy Protégé course. In this lesson, you're going to learn some rather interesting information about one of the most sought-after financial goals around, the quest to make more money. Now let me get right into it with a couple of quick questions. First, how happy are you with where you are right now financially? My guess is that you're probably in a position where you'd like things to be better. I mean, why else would you be here right now? Okay, so it's safe to say that you do believe things could improve. Now let me ask you another question. Are you making more money or less money than you were 10 years ago? Now, according to the Social Security Administration, the average wage between 1999 and 2009 increased by 33.6%. So chances are you're making more money than you were a decade ago. I can guess what you're thinking. You're thinking, but the economy has tanked and things are much worse now than they were back in 2009. You know what? You're right. And that is exactly my point. You see, up until the economy tanked, you probably were making more money. Well, what did that get you? I mean, did it really provide for you all the things you thought more money would? And did it insulate you from that economic downturn that took place? You see where I'm going with this? You've already experienced the more money scenario. And the reality of making more money, well, it's probably not really matched the idea you have or what you think more money would do for you. So, what makes you think that if you made more money than you're making right now, things would be better? I mean, you've already walked down that road, but we'll get into that in just a bit. Before we do, let me ask you another question. How much more money would be enough? I mean, setting aside winning the lottery, what kind of income would be the amount reasonably? In a study done in 1991, financial researchers determined that it would take about $60,000 a year to really live the American dream. And then the study went on where they interviewed people making $60,000 a year, but those people, well, they felt it would take $75,000 a year to really live the American dream. But when folks making $75,000 a year were interviewed, they thought it would take more like $100,000. And you guessed it, when they interviewed those people making $100,000 a year, they thought making $150,000 a year would really make the American dream possible. But that was like 20 years ago. Let's take those numbers and put them through a time warp and adjust them for inflation and see what this research project would look like in today's dollars. If we adjust those numbers for inflation, that 60 grand a year turns into about $95,000 a year. The 75 grand a year turns into about $119,000 a year. The 100 grand into about $159,000 a year. And the 150 grand into about $240,000 a year. My point is that almost no matter what your gross annual income is right now, what you think the magical amount is, when you get there, it'll just be a matter of time before that amount isn't enough and you're wanting more. You see, there's a very good reason why each time you do climb a rung on the income ladder, you eventually believe you still need more money. It's because when you do hit a higher income goal, something else happens. And that something else is tied to three little letters. Those three little letters are DTI. DTI stands for the debt-to-income ratio. DTI is a measure of how much the lending industry believes to be a healthy ratio of debt to your income. And it's believed by those financial experts that a healthy DTI is a range between somewhere of 30 to 36%, and that somewhere between 36 and 40% is borderline. But what does DTI or debt-to-income ratio even mean? Now, to understand what it means, you need to learn how DTI is calculated. It's a pretty simple equation. It goes like this. Total recurring debt payments divided by gross monthly income equals DTI. If we use the same numbers we've been using, those numbers from the debt-free millionaire sample family, the Fortunatos, the equation would look something like this. $2,575 divided by $667 equals 38.6%. This is a little on the high side, but do you notice anything about that equation? Now take a good look. The total monthly debt payments are being divided by gross monthly income. But do you pay your bills with gross income? Of course you don't. You pay your bills with net income. But more on that on a later episode. This lesson's about why making more money in and of itself just isn't the answer. Let's take another look at those adjusted research numbers for what people believing achieving the American dream would take. and see what the impact DTI will have on potential debt payments for those income amounts. Now, because the real question becomes, what would the potential debt payment scenario be given, say, an average 36% DTI? A $95,000 annual income equals annual debt payments of $34,200 or $2,850 a month. A $119,000 annual income means annual debt payments of $42,840 or $3,570 a month. A $159,000 annual income means $57,240 or $4,770 a month. A $240,000 annual income means annual debt payments of $86,400 or $7,200 a month. You see, following conventional or traditional expert advice would have your debt payments escalating alongside your income. But what no one seems to really notice is that as your income increases, so does your income tax bracket. And since your DTI is calculated based on gross income, your total payment amount for all of your debts can grow, but your payments are made with net income, which can shrink percentage-wise because of an increasing tax bracket. And maybe because property taxes have gone up because you've moved into that bigger house, and it's more expensive because you were making more money. So those property taxes increase as well. Now, this is why that more money situation can slowly put you in a place where your proportionate net income begins to shrink and you don't even know it. Now, let me provide you with this perspective. You should view your income as a shovel. It's a shovel that can either dig a hole or fill it. And when you're following traditional expert advice, you have a tendency to use your income to dig a hole. And the greater or larger your income is, the larger the shovel is. And when you have income in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, your shovel transforms into like a backhoe, one of those tractors. Have you ever wondered why celebrities or sports superstars go broke? Now, while there are a number of different factors, one of them is that their income has been transformed into a huge tractor, and it scoops out hundreds of thousands of dollars in DTI payments. And when their income shrinks for whatever reason, so does the size of their shovel. Or consider that 1 in 3 lottery winners goes broke or bankrupt in about 5 years. Now, that's a perfect example of people who've had that small shovel transformed into one of those huge excavating tractors. Now, when you follow traditional advice, more money, it can provide you with the exact opposite of what you're hoping for. Now, maybe you've experienced the shrinking shovel syndrome over the past few years. Because of the economy, maybe your income has decreased. Now, interestingly enough, the only time you usually begin to think about filling the hole that you dug up with a tractor-sized shovel is when that tractor-sized shovel is shrunk. And you realize that all you have to fill that huge hole of debt that was dug up by a tractor is a spoon. But does that mean that making more money is a bad thing no matter what? Am I saying that you should never try to increase your income? Of course I'm not. The only time making more money can be potentially financially dangerous is when you're making it in the presence of traditional financial advice, like believing in good debt, and the other financial myths we've been picking apart. Now, when your income changes and increases, and what you do with it doesn't change, now that can be a recipe for financial disaster. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, you've been telling me about all the things I shouldn't be doing right now, but what can I do to achieve this wealth potential you keep talking about? Well, I'm glad you asked. Henry Ford, the founder of the Ford Motor Company, once said, "Don't find fault, find remedy." Now, the rest of this course will be dedicated to just that, discovering your financial remedy. Now, in the next set of lessons, you're going to learn specifically what you can do to put yourself on the path to achieving your personal wealth potential. And when you discover what I'll be sharing with you, you'll see that making more money can actually help fuel your wealth accumulation engine. You'll discover that even if your prospects, for increased income don't look so good, you can still achieve a wealth potential that most people only dream about. Now it's time to change directions from the pointing out the not so good and start heading in the wow, this is awesome direction. So when you're ready, I'm going to see you in the next lesson.